Hey there, Buy Round listeners. We have got these brand new hats, limited availability. As you can see, the great artwork there of my good self on the front and a bit of a Buy Round logo on the side. Charlie, tell our listeners where you can get these hats from.
Yeah, that's right, Jimmy. TheBuyAround.com is where you go, and it's really the only website you should be going to for your podcast merch. I don't care if you like other podcasts. You're sitting here right now and you're watching this advert.
You need some merch.
You need some merch.
And what's the best thing about our merch? What sets us apart?
Quality.
No.
Limited edition.
No.
I know what you're saying. It's because you get tickets to a live show.
That's right.
You're
right. First in the mixer for the live show, and there's going to be more of them this year.
We are planning a few live shows, yep.
Best way to give yourself an opportunity is get some merch. Hello and welcome everyone to a brand new special series from the Buy Round where we're going to peel back the curtain and reveal what happens on tour, not just on the field, but off the field as well. We're joined by two members of the Australian 2017 Rugby League World Cup, where Australia went on to beat England at Suncorp Stadium 6-0 in the final. Wade Graham and Aaron Woods.
Jimmy, thanks for having us.
No, thanks for coming on. We're talking all things the tour. So I guess for you two, it's your very first World Cup. Woodsy, you'd played for Australia before, but how was your, what were you feeling like going into this for your very first World Cup?
It's pretty good actually. Is like you hear a lot of the talk to the one prior. I think the one that was prior was in England.
13, yes, that's correct.
And Australia were coming off a win, so it was a huge emphasis on us backing it up because I think they got beat by New Zealand the one before. So, mate, we loved it. We got. It's funny, like Mao does funny things, like he gets the group together, but like, so before this tour, we went to Fiji because he sort of wanted to keep our families happy because we're going to be away for 7 weeks.
It was a long tournament.
It was a long tournament. It had been a long year. So we went to Fiji. I think we played
in like tri-series, didn't we? Half a game against PNG, half a game against Fiji, and then Fiji and PNG played the final quarter.
It's like a trial for all of us.
It was a tri-series, so it was good. But do you remember the flight over? We had our own plane. It was just us on the plane, and there's Jim Maloney up and down the aisles with all the kids, and all the wives and partners are on the plane. It was
unbelievable.
It was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool experience, that.
So the idea is you go into Fiji and everybody comes with you. We're going to have this little bit of training camp / family holiday / bonding.
Yeah, it was a great idea because it was like primarily for us to play some footy and obviously get a trial match in, but he now brought all the families over as well because he wanted all the girls to sort of have a connection. So, we play in different cities and some girls come to different cities with the families and the kids and families, and they wanted to have that connection where there was no awkwardness between the partners. They felt comfortable to come and hang out with each other, come to the change rooms after the game or to the hotels. And, if you see a familiar face, you're comfortable talking, not just, you might know each other from around rugby league, but you don't know each other in that actual team. So it was quite a great idea because, it was a long series. I think it was almost 7-8 weeks in the end.
It was, yeah. But what he does well is he encourages them to come in. And because in the Aussie squad, we get a room to ourselves. So you don't room with anyone. So what he wants you to do is...
At no point did you room with anyone?
No, not in the World Cup. He wants you to bring your family in. So their families are welcome the whole tour. Yeah, so it's like... And like Wade said, if they do come in, they don't feel like, oh, geez, I've got to bring my family in, I've got to introduce everyone. They already know everyone. And that's what we did. So we sort of had... when we played the game, we come back to the hotel in Fiji and, you get to know the real people when you have a few drinks and everyone lets their hair down a bit.
Well, there was a footy manager for actual, the footy stuff, Tristo and that, but there was another manager there just to help coordinate all the families and all our partners and children. I remember at the time, I'd only been with my missus for probably a year and a half, and we were on the younger side of the squad, but I remember Smitty's family being in there, Billy's family being in there, and the kids, like your missus was in there. Like it was awesome, and it was just... No matter who the player was or who the partner was, he's always hello in the hotel foyers or at breakfast or at dinner or whenever you cross paths. And it was from that trip, we were together, overseas for a week. We had the game, obviously. We trained and played the game, but then we had a weekend down at one of the resorts. When we caught the bus down, down to one of the resorts, and we spent the day out there as a just the whole squad and extended family. It was an awesome time, and it was quite a masterstroke, I think, from Mao to just break the ice for everyone, and then it allowed the boys, because we actually all returned home after that, didn't we? We had about a week and a half or 2 weeks at home, and then we assembled in Melbourne on that Sunday night before the opening match on Friday against you boys.
Yeah, wait, I want to take you back there to before you go into camp. You'd played for New South Wales before, but this is your first time coming in to meet some, well, what no doubt will be future immortals in the game, players that you've had battles against before. Were you a little bit nervous?
Oh, I wasn't, to be honest. I was more excited than anything, because at that stage I wasn't on the young side. I wasn't on the older side. I was 25. Yeah, actually, I might have been 26 already. So, I was getting to the stage in my career where I'd been a strong player at club level for quite a while. I'd been a strong club player at Origin. I've had a few Origin series. I'd been in around that miss, but I didn't get picked in the Australian tour of 2016, and that was after our premiership win, and it was probably one of the better seasons I had in the NRL. And, of course, Boyd Cordner was the incumbent back rower, the left edge back rower for the Australian team, the vice captain of the team. So I sort of... I maybe thought my chance had passed me in the Australian representative scene. And I just remember that in 2017, we got bundled out early in the finals against the Cowboys, who went on that run. Mickey Morgan, took his team to the grand final almost single-handedly. And it was sort of a blessing for me from a selfish point of view. It allowed me to go on the Prime Minister's 13 strip, which was in Papua New Guinea, before the final squad was selected. And in that Prime Minister's game, Mal used me in a number of positions. I started in the back row, ended up playing in the halves, I played some centre. I actually played in the middle at some stage. This is always in 80 minutes. And I left there feeling not confident about selection in the Australian side. We won Papua New Guinea. It's always a good time to go over there in the local population who, NRL is the number one sport, or rugby league's the number one sport, sorry. But, it was from there on that I really, sort of launched me into that Australian squad because of the versatility that I showed in that game. And, it ended up holding me in good stead because that's the position I ended up playing for the tournament, coming off the bench and holding that utility role. But because, I ended up getting selected and, in the back of my mind thinking possibly that had passed me by, I just remember entering camp really excited, not knowing when my opportunity would come, but just really grateful that I got to experience that environment.
Yeah. So, all right, you boys go to Fiji, you play the 2 halves of a 120-minute game. Yeah. I'm assuming you launched into the drinks, but obviously with the families around, was it a little bit of a different dynamic? Did you put the brakes on slightly?
I don't think so, because the best thing about it was, anyone that knows Cameron Smith, Jimmy, is that after a game, you're basically in the sheds until he calls time. So there's been times we're on tour, that 16 tour. I remember we played at, I think it was Millennium Stadium in London. Is that right?
Cardiff.
And then we got kicked out of the sheds because he wouldn't leave and there was no more alcohol that we could drink. So it was good to sort of, when you're in Fiji, is like, no, we're one in all in. So all our misses were still back at the hotel. I don't think, what time do we reckon we probably got back there? Wait, it wasn't till at least midnight.
Yeah, it was getting late.
And it was like a 5 or 6 o'clock kickoff. So we probably had about 4 or 5 hours. And that's an early stint for Cameron. So we were able to employ things that were going to happen in tour that you could sort of say, well, this is what happens on these tours, because this is in Australia. When you're in England, you can get away with it. No one's really coming over there. You're one big group. But when your family come, you know that after a game, there's no point waiting around and trying to get photos. If you're going to get your photos, get it while you're on the field, because once we go inside, you have these little awards that Cameron does. Everyone that from, player to medical staff to, performance staff, even media, he brings them in, he just makes them feel part of the group.
I seen him pull a security guard in once as well.
He pulled the person that runs the stadium. And the next thing you know, they're back at the hotel drinking with us again. So it was good to do those things. And you could just, like I said, we became a family. And I know when Wado bring, his wife now into the tour, you go, how you going? What's happening? How you been? And you see the other ones with the kids, they're all around the group, and it just doesn't feel awkward.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't. We didn't really necessarily have to put the brakes on because it was a Saturday night, the game over in Fiji, and then the Sunday, like I said, we had this resort booked down on one of the further down south. It was about a 2-hour bus ride down. So we launched on the 2 buses, the whole team, all the partners and that. Fiji, so there was a couple of drinks on the bus, and then we got to the resort, and we had this whole place for ourselves, man. And the kids could run around and do the activities, and then players and partners were in the pool, and it was just a really relaxing time, and it was all in. Everyone was all in. There was babysitters there to help look after the kids, and
some of the players as well.
And some of the players. Well, not then there wasn't. We had our own babysitter, Gardy, throughout the tour.
Oh, the secured.
He's a Gardy.
What a good fella he
is.
is.
He's a champion, but he wouldn't be too happy here because there's only one exit, I think.
I know, mate. Don't you? I am. Slightly off track. I was in an All-Stars camp with him. I couldn't stop asking him questions.
Yeah.
Mate, he'd send us, so at the start of each week, say we're in Melbourne or the Darwin, he'd send you things that have happened in the past and things to be aware of.
In those areas?
Whether it was a bomb or something, he'd send us. So I'm going to these places going, Jesus, I'm that scared, I'm rattled. Because he goes, there was a bomb planted in a taxi 30 years ago. And he goes, you never know what could happen, Woodsy.
He's done some famous jobs, but
he'll tell you about it too.
Yeah. That's how I know. He's got a couple of really good stories. Yeah.
It's interesting that though on tours it's not just the bonds that you get with players from other teams. It's a lot of those staff members you become really tight with, and Gardy's the security guard, but you make relationships with people like that, and you see them round the traps, and it's like.
It's like you were back in camp yesterday. I remember he rang me one day. He was doing some stuff for Apple in the city, and I ended up going to have lunch with him. And all we did was reminisce on the whole tour. We had Trevor Gilmeister. Growing up in New South Wales, I used to despise him. I wanted to smash him. But then when you meet him, he's one of the greatest blokes you'll ever meet.
Lammy,
Hagues. And it's just
even the physio, Sammy,
Chicken
from North Queensland, mate. See, that's again.
They become part of your life, don't they? You're there for 7 weeks.
And Glenn Jackson, he's a journo, but he was one of us. Normally we're against him, but he's one of us.
You're right, but the bond you create on a tour like that is something that it lasts forever, because there hasn't been a game where I've played against North Queensland where after the games I haven't seen Chickens, I haven't gone up to shook his hand, mate. How are you? How's the family? How's things going? And that's the bond created from a tour. Once you're on top of each other, you're in there. All you want to do is ultimately win at the end, and you're all trying to help each other navigate the week-to-week scheduling and what it takes for everyone to get to their best and to try and have success down the end of the line. So we've got so many great memories from that trip.
100%. But you know what, one of my funniest things, my nervous moments when we're heading into that camp on the Sunday night, so after we'd done Fiji, do you remember what period of time that was? It was when Cooper Cronk was going from Melbourne to the Roosters. So it was so the first thing I was just looking, keep an eye out for when Smitty and Cooper Cronk come in, and it was all good. But
because there was murmurs there that it wasn't the most, I guess, friendliest of exits. There was a bit of
I think that no one saw it coming.
Yeah.
I thought we all thought he was either going to stay at Melbourne or retire, Cooper Cronk. So I know I was quite shocked when I heard it, because we had about 10 days off, was it?
Yeah.
And then I was just oh geez, I can't wait to go into camp, see how these boys handle it. But nothing happened. They were just as good as gold.
They were fine on tour. You wouldn't have, if there was underlying issues, personal issues between those two guys, they certainly never let it show in the team environment.
We've seen Smitty later on in the tour, which we'll talk about. But one C Munster.
Actually, you want to talk about my 8 days leading in, my 10 days. I'll tell you this story. I don't want to get too off track, but so my birthday is the 25th of October, so it always falls around, Caulfield Cups, Cox Plate, Derby days, depending on the dates and the back end of that October. So the Saturday before the Sunday we flew to Melbourne, I met up with all the fellas up at, for some reason it was a Guyman pub. It was Caulfield Cup, the Worcester Caulfield Cup, and I was only going to go up there for a few, say goodbye to the lads. I'm going away for 2 months, celebrate my birthday. Like I said, I'd only been with my partner for a year, so their birthday was always something to do and catch up with all the friends, particularly it was at the end of the season and almost a bit like beginning of the new pre-season. Yep. So it was sort of like the last hurrah. And then one thing led to another, and we went large. We went extremely large. So then Sunday morning wakes up and I'm feeling 1 out of 10. And I've got to pack up my bag for 8 weeks. I'm flying to Melbourne and we're on tour. And then my last comforting thought when I got on the plane was, you know what? You're just going to be an emu. You're going to be on the outside of the squad. You're not going to probably get a game for.
When you say emu,
so
you're not.
Don't play.
But I was going to say, so you're not emu and on the plane. You're not.
No.
Because there is that emu, the person that struggles street.
No, I wasn't that. I was all right.
But you thought you were going to be part of
the extended squad.
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd be in the 17. I thought I'd be a part of the extended squad. And I was like, that's okay. You had a blowout, get down there, train hard, blow the cobwebs out, and then when you get an opportunity down the track, whether it's against, France or Lebanon, you'll be right to go. And then sure enough, the first guy I see on Sunday when I walk into camp, still under the weather, Mao comes up and goes, mate, listen, I need you to have a good week this week because you're playing. And I was like, oh, yeah.
But then what happened that night, straight on the beers again?
We had a couple of beers. We had a couple more beers. They sort of leveled me out. And then, another comforting thought was like, you know what, you're just going to be on the bench anyway. You only play 20 minutes. You'll be sweet. You get through it and then we'll get into the debut story, but it could have been horrific, but we managed to get through unscathed.
Yeah, fair play. Well, we'll talk all things off the field first before we actually get onto the
How long we got?
performance.
There's a lot of things off the field, mate.
So the first guy, I had a look through your squad last night, and there's one guy that springs to mind. You already brought him up naturally on the plane. Life of the party, James Maloney.
Oh. I wouldn't say life of the party, the punish of the party.
Oh, the punish of the party. Oh,
It
wow.
depends. The first couple of weeks, he's life of the party. But then he's just relentless.
Like if I heard that voice, so we played England, then we played France, was it?
France, yep.
Come up Lebanon. If I heard his voice, I'd just walk the other way. He was driving us mad, and he was just because he was basically an emu, wasn't he, at the start, and then oh mate, he just drive us. You heard his voice, and it's real creaky, and it's just he's not coming again. And his partner in crime was Will Chambers, who's another bloke that just doesn't leave you alone. And say if you're eating, anything you do, they pick you apart and destroy you. So whether it's eating dinner or you're going, or look what you're wearing today, mate. You couldn't have a down day, or you've had a big night because you tend to drink a fair bit of beers on tour. The next day, I don't know how those two can recover no tomorrow, and it's they haven't even had a beer and they're just India and there's no rest for the week and all this. Mate, just go away. Just give me a break.
The last thing you need at that point in time is someone like that.
Yeah.
Just give us a spell.
Well, at that stage, I was still playing with him at Cronulla.
I don't know how you did it, mate.
So I'd build up a healthy immunity to him, and I obviously had a great combination with him on the field, and I learned to deal with his antics off the field. But I think he's one of those guys you need in the squad, because when everyone is feeling down, and he could be half the reason for, rubbing you the wrong way, or just if he finds a weakness, he would just pick at it. But when you are down, and you need those guys who are unwavering, who always just constantly push the groove, he's one of the guys that you really need, and that's why he's had success wherever he's gone, because he has that special knack of just always seeing.
It's got a time span, but
2
to 3 years, I reckon.
It's different for you as well. You've gone from teammate to you're living together.
Yeah.
So the team room environment was. I assume he was just dominating the conversation there as well.
Well, the thing is too, he's unnaturally good at a lot of things too. So he's good at ping pong.
Anything he does,
he's good at darts. He can shoot pool. The amount of time him and Will were talking about horses and which horses to pick.
What was it, Derby weekend or Cox Plate that were down in Melbourne?
Cox Plate after.
He backed the winner of the Cox Plate. The one person in the squad I didn't want to back the winner.
And he was tipping it. Remember, he was tipping it for
told us
weeks.
the whole day.
For weeks.
Yeah, so Clem and I were there
rekindling, wasn't it?
Yeah, rekindling. And he's into it, make load up. In his croaky voice.
Yeah.
And as soon as it wins, straight in the WhatsApp chat,
you're welcome.
Anybody but this bloke, come on.
I think that's what he said. I think, you're welcome, boys, you're welcome.
So after that first win,
we should back up a bit, because before, so Mao does this cool thing. He does a history piece about the team you're playing. So it's obviously England first, then we played France and Lebanon. And before each game, the Monday, was it?
Yeah, Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, Monday or Tuesday. Our first time back, because we used to get a couple of days off after the game, we'd go and we'd have an actual like immersion night into the opposition culture.
So theme night, yeah.
We had an English night, and we had a French night. We'd go through the history of the Australian Kangaroos versus the English team or the French team. We'd learn about all the the past greats of both teams. We'd eat their food, like traditional English meals or French meals.
Really?
Yeah. And you dressed up. You had to dress up. There was a
English
theme.
was good.
We had a bowl. Remember we had the bowler hats for the English?
Bowler hats, yep. France was terrible.
We had the
pate and all that. Oh,
You don't like pate?
nah, man.
What did you have for your English food? Can you remember?
Was it a pie?
I think it was a pie.
Yeah, it was down at this dungeon pub.
Yeah.
In the CBD
In Melbourne,
yeah. It was a good night. I think we had a couple of beers too.
Couple
I think.
beers, yeah. Always a couple beers.
What you do for the French food?
No, we had a trivia night about the English. Remember we were in groups so what they do,
that's right. We had
you get put into groups. I got a picture of my group that I think my group was the Kidneys, and so it was all the Aussie animals, and then at the end of the tour, I think it was 4 or 5 groups, and then the winner gets a mad award that Mal obviously comes up with. Oh, I didn't win it, so I can't remember. Were you part of the? No, we were in the same team.
Yeah, I don't think we won.
Yeah,
I don't think we won. We'll guess.
And so things like rocking up late or just little things, everything gets a punishment. And
that's right. And I mean, our games added points.
Conditioning games for training, and then if you got say man of the match goes towards it. It was just like a good thing, but then so we had like a trivia night about all the English.
The French night didn't go down well because you know what the main dish was? Tartare.
Yeah.
Ooh,
So it was raw beef, right?
Yeah. They was kidding themselves. They need to cook that.
See, I was lucky because my wife's French Canadian or my partner back then, so I'd been exposed to tartare before, so I sort of knew it was coming.
I was like, where's the baguettes and all that?
Jeez. Yeah, so that was a side sort of, but we did that at the start of the week, and then we always played Friday night because we were the Australian team.
Yeah, we're lucky.
We were the prime time, and then we'd have Saturday, Sunday off. Monday we'd train.
No, it was so you'd have the 10 o'clock recovery the next day, then 2 full days off.
2 full days, and then you'd train Tuesday, Wednesday off.
Yep, Thursday captain's run.
But then the Emus, if you weren't in the team on Wednesday, they had to go out. Like, it was almost compulsory Emu dinner.
Compulsory, yeah.
And that was like, by the end, Jimmy was pretty much the captain of that. Benny Hunt.
Well, remember when they were announcing the team for the finals just later down the track. And so they go obviously number 1, Billy Slater, number 2, blah, blah. And then when he got to number 6, he goes, yes, come on, Jimmy Maloney. Yeah, damn, sorry, Jonathan Thurston, number 6. And he goes, I'm a chance for halfback, number 7. And they go, Cooper Cronk. And then had to wait, get to 14. He goes, Jimmy Maloney. Utility, I think it was Michael Morgan.
That was the year 4?
Yeah, no, wasn't it the... Waiter was utility, that's right, in the final. And then it gets to 18th minute, he goes, no.
Because that means he's not going on the Emus night out.
Emus night, but he has to trade with us.
Has to trade, yeah.
Oh, dear.
Like, the other thing too, again, you talk about not just players, Mao made a compulsory staff dinner. So the night before a game, the staff had to go out. Mao wouldn't go out, but he made it compulsory that probably Adrian Lamb was in charge of it because he was the assistant coach, but all the staff, the doctor, the physios, the media guys, they all had to go out, and whatever city they were in, they had to find a place, go out together, have a nice dinner and a couple of drinks, or we didn't have to drink if you didn't want to, but you go out together, and that was another form of bonding that you had to do.
But he would sit at the entrance to the lobby and make sure they all went out, and they weren't allowed to come home till I think he polished off 2 bowls of red.
For you guys as players, you do the team walk the day of the game. Was that were you looking forward to hearing what the Emus had to say?
That's probably the second best part of game day. Obviously playing is the best, but it was you see they come down, it's hey boys, how you going? Yeah. It's Josh Mansour. You just talk to us about what happened last night, boys. Yeah. Where'd you go? Who was best on ground? Who had a crack? Who made a fool of himself? And then all the boys, we all loved it.
Yeah, it's funny, but because we talk about this, all this, and we certainly had a good time, but it sort of takes away. You sort of say we didn't take the footy seriously.
Oh mate.
But this is where Mao was, so brilliant because. It's the end of the year. It's been a long year. He knew the boys knew what we were there for, But he just sort of gave everyone, enough rope to go, you're allowed to go and have a good time. Go and enjoy each other's company, have a good time. But when it's time to train, you're here and we're going to train hard. And then when it's time to prepare, you prepare because you're playing for Australia. There's a history of Australian teams that are successful. We need to live up to what the other guys before us have done in this Australian jersey, and they're winners. So when you come to play, you need to win. That was that was the forefront of everyone's mind. But when that time was over, he gave everyone enough opportunity to go out and just let the shoulders down and really enjoy each other's company. So it's a balance on those tours. You've been on a number yourself, Jimmy. When they go for so long, you can't be on the whole time because you can lose sight of what you're there to do. It's
an art, I think, to coach a team at the end of the year. It's very different from the week to week stuff, and you've got the best players in Australia at your disposal. Like,
but I think it's the balance with Mal. Like, we'd go to team video, and to be honest, Mal wouldn't say too much. It was more like, I reckon it was basically Billy ran a lot of it.
Yeah,
Cooper would chime in, and then Smitty would just. It felt like Smitty was like the head, sort of not taken away from Mao, but he knew when to go to Bill. All right, yeah, that's sweet, but Bill, maybe not that, and then Cooper would chime in. Like, it was a real good balance, and he trusted everyone. So the trust that Mao gave us, we didn't want to let him down.
Yeah.
And then like you said, we waited the balance. Yeah, you'd go out and have a beer, but we also made ourselves accountable. A lot of us were training that second day.
Yeah,
we're flogging ourselves in whether it was running, conditioning.
It was funny because at the start of the tour, there was only a few boys up there, sort of knocking off the guys. You could tell the real guys who are precise in their preparation. If they'd have a couple of beers, they'd be up there flushing out. By the end of the trip, everyone was up there.
23 blokes.
That day off when you're supposed to be resting. If you'd gone out and had a good night the night before, you'd find someone up in the sauna or in the cardio room or, having an extra swim, doing their little bit because they're, towards the end of the tournament, you knew it was getting to the pointy end. It was, all right, we got to, get ourselves into gear here.
Yeah. So in Melbourne, the Cox Plate, was that everybody turned up for that?
No, I didn't turn. So Clem and I, we went to a pub. We didn't want to dress up in suits and that. Like all the
so
boys.
Will Chambers had a connection down there. He got us all tickets to one of the marquees, Ladbrokes maybe.
Yeah, it was one of those ones. Oh, mate,
I think it was Ladbrokes.
And Jimmy was there as well. Enough's enough for that. So, Clem and I, we had a great day. We backed a couple of winners. We ended up walking out quite a fair bit on top. And then we met up with the boys a little bit later on, but I'm sure Wade will tell you how the
No, it was good. It was a good day there. So there's so my birthday, I had the Caulfield Cup the weekend before, but the 25th was like the Wednesday.
It's the longest birthday week of your life.
It's the longest birthday. So then on Wednesday, the boys all got a cake and that for me. They were singing happy birthday. Then I had my debut Friday night. And then on Saturday, after a win against England, after debut, we all went to the races. So it was good, but it was funny. Right at the end of the day, there was about 2 or 3 races to go. And everyone was betting on their phone, the Ladbrokes. I was a part of the thing, but I wasn't betting on my phone. I was betting in cash. And I had a couple of winners throughout the day. And then the internet went down because it must have been jammed full of too many people at the races, so no one could get a bet on. So I ended up taking the bets for all the boys, holding on to their money, and we had to work it out later. And not.
You were basically the bookmaker.
I was just running the bookies for the boys just so they could get a bet on. And then no one actually got a win. The only guy who got any cash out of me was Cooper Cronk. He had a couple of winners towards the end and had to fix him up the next day.
Yeah, nice. Just on all that, there's some obvious connections. Was there ever an unlikely duo or an unlikely friendship that you just thought that seems weird? I didn't think those two or those three would be particularly close mates. Was there anything like that happen?
Probably you'd say Jimmy and Will to start with. They had history in Melbourne together.
But they're very similar, very loud.
Jakey wasn't around then, was he?
No, Jakey was there for the first weekend and did his peck in the first game.
That's right, yeah. So because Clem and Woodsy, obviously the biggest bromance in rugby league in almost history, I'd say. But then Jakey, through the Origin series, he'd come in and he made a bit of a trio. And then it was a trio in Fiji, and then obviously in Melbourne it was a trio. But I forgot he tore his pec the first game, didn't he?
I'm trying to think who would be the different. Who did Dukes hang out with? Probably himself. No one could put up with him.
I don't know. Well, so my guy on tour is Boydo. I mean, Boydo are mates, and Cooper hung out a lot with us.
Yep.
After his time with the Roosters, so
that's right,
a lot of the time everyone sort of does their own thing as a team, but then they go off in their own section. A lot of the time I'd be with Boydo and Coop would come along with us. That was not surprising, but it might have been funny to some people because we'd had such a history, Melbourne and the Sharks, obviously from 2016 and 2017.
Yep. A
couple of really feisty games. I got along with Will Chambers.
Yeah, he's
quite well. He
champion.
lived at my house when he came to Cronulla for that season, but we obviously had a lot of run-ins on the field.
Oh, of course.
But I think...
someone we're forgetting who was punished too? Josh Maguire. He was good value, but too, man.
Who was what he just got under your skin, or
He'd pick up lizards and throw things at you.
he's
Like that
always
Guardy
great.
bloke. So I think he made his own little firecracker because Guardy is like on edge all the time. And Guardy came out of the toilet and called Josh Maguire Moose. Moose is laying on the ground and lights the firecracker up in one of our hotels. And Guardy's just jumping. It's like, mate, who's this secchi? He's the one that's freaking supposed to say it.
you don't go into panic.
You're not going to war with him. It was funny, just the different people that were in the
but
group.
that's the thing,
You know, an odd couple actually, Cameron Munster and Ben Hunt, because they sort of didn't really play with each other before. They've created a great relationship now, but going into that.
I've got one. Sauce and Frizz.
Oh yeah, Sauce and
Oh,
Frizz.
really?
Sauce and Tyson
Yeah.
Frizell,
Yeah, that
Mansour
was-
and Tyson Frizell.
There's not much.
They're not
They weren't talking smarts, those two.
They like looking good, but those two.
They were always an old couple to me,
Yeah.
and they still get along to this day, which is awesome. It just goes to show that middle forwards or edge forwards and wingers can get along.
Yeah. Was there any sort of misdemeanors happening on tour? Anyone stand out, or any particular event stand out where
Obviously,
Munster,
money got sent home.
Money got sent home, and that was
Cameron
good.
Munster.
it's like
Well, I think
It was in Darwin. That was in Darwin.
so.
We
That was in
played
Darwin.
Samoa.
We played Samoa. So he was an emu.
But in their defence, Benny Hunt, he played one game against Lebanon. Well, 40 minutes because Smitty was always playing.
Yep.
And Munster played one game against France.
Yes. But remember,
So they were emus the whole time,
Yeah.
man. And once you're
and
at,
Benny just got married. He missed that
Oh,
France
that's
game
right,
because
he
he got
did.
married.
Yeah.
So it's funny. It's funny how he married. I think was it,
Bridget.
which is Mick Hagan's niece.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about
yeah.
that.
So the connection there is crazy. Yeah. So, but then he coming back into the camp. So he was flying when we were up in Darwin. He was obviously on a high. He just got married. They had that incident at the pub.
It was kebab too. I think someone stole his kebab.
Stole his kebab.
Hunty stole Munster's kebab, or Munster stole Benny's kebab. I think Munster stole Benny's kebab, and then Benny put one on him.
No, I think it was the other way around.
Oh, the other way
around.
around.
Other way around.
well, hang on.
You don't remember this?
No,
It was in the papers, man. They sent Munster home. Mal sent him home.
for Chin and Ben.
No, I don't think it was Mao. I think Melbourne said,
Yeah. That's
come
back.
home on our day off. I'll never forget it. So I was going, the Sofitel
Yeah.
up in Brisbane? So that, as you walk in, just go left, there's that escalator. It goes downstairs to the bar.
Okay. Yeah.
So Clem and I are going down, and then I just see there's a seat straight in front of us, on the same level as the entrance to the escalator, which goes down. And Cameron Smith, and he's talking to Munster, and he's just like that. And then you just see Munster's saw a ghost. And then literally half an hour later, he was boarding a flight back to Melbourne.
for good, he was gone.
Nah, he come back later
he
that
did
night.
come back, yeah.
Oh, right. It was
Yeah.
just. you
But it
never
was
get-
good. We didn't know that he was going back to Melbourne for that reason. So when he come back, we're having dinner down at the water at Brisbane, and we were like, "Oh man, he's back!" And then you see Smitty in the corner, just not happy.
So, right, do you actually know what happened?
I know. Benny and Munster had a little bit of a tussle up in Darwin after the nightclub. And
Mate, it happens all the time with his mate.
It was
Me and
funny,
Clem got into a couple that
we
tour.
all found it funny. And it's those guys were emus. They were out together. They were training hard, and then they were out together every night. And like you said, you're living on top of each other. And then there was probably 3 or 4 guys in particular who didn't play much. They were out all the time, on top of each other all the time. It was just one night after a few too many drinks, it just, you got into a little bit of an argument. We all found it funny, and it was just that the Melbourne connection had got Munster home, and then Benny's everyone knows Benny's the nicest guy.
Mate,
in the
next
world.
day, shook hands. Boom,
Yeah,
let's
it's all
go.
good, but it was just funny because
I think Benny goes, I think I carried on too. I think Benny was saying.
Munster, he wasn't the best player in the NRL like he is now. He was still under the sort of
Up and coming,
under
yeah.
the wings of Cam and of Cooper and of Billy. So it's just when he got pulled up, it was just a young guy on tour having fun and just went a little bit too far one night. But we all found it funny and, he's since returned to the Australian team and he's one of the best players. It's just a funny memory from the trip. I remember one too. I don't know if it was that World Cup because it was Turbo in that one.
Yep.
Yeah, but remember his mate?
I'll tell it later. I'll tell it later. It was. Yeah.
Don't wait. Just let's get. Don't wait because we'll forget.
I was there.
I'll start. So we went out one night after a game, and then my missus went down for breakfast. I slept in. I didn't want to go out for breakfast. And she comes back into the room. She knocks on the door. Comes in. She says, "Wait. There's a guy out there sleeping at the lift. He's naked."
Yep.
Like just some random guy, and there was a towel. Like that obviously had been put on him, but he'd rolled over, so it was off him. So he's just laying starkers. Like
it wasn't a great sight either.
He's just laying starkers, and like, who is that guy? And I was like, I went down and checked. I've never seen that guy in my life, so I thought he was just some punter from the hotels. But anyway,
so I could hear something. I could hear knocking on the door early in the morning, but I thought it was my door. So how it was, we went down the corridor, and then we were the furthest ones down. So Mal was in the suite. Then it was Tommy Turbo, and then it was myself. And we had none of our partners were there, but I think my wife wasn't there. And then I could hear knocking on the door, and I was like, what's this bloke want? It's early in the morning. So I went out. You know when you just look for the little peephole? He's knocking on Mao's door. He's nude. Mao opens the door and he goes, what the fuck do you want? This is big Mao. And then So I can't remember. I think might have put on the WhatsApp. Said, mate, there's a nude bloke floating around our level. I get a WhatsApp message from Turbo. That's my mate. And then we had a little WhatsApp group with Jakey and all that. And then next thing you know, Jakey's going, Tom, how dare you disrespect the Australian? All this. Jakey's ripping into him on the side. And Tom's like, mate, I've got no idea what's going on.
So what? Tommy had just invited him to his room.
No,
it was just a bloke that was one of a hanger-oner that we had a beer with, and he come up.
He just ended up in the hotel. Strange.
But mate, the look on Mao's face, I'm telling you, it was priceless.
I would have been scared if I was that guy. Like Mao's very softly spoken.
And then so the next day we were at Brekkie, I was like, because Mao was near me, I was like, anyone see a nude bloke on the floating around? And Mao's, mate, did you get that as well?
Poor Tommy's just like...
Tommy's just like this down.
Mate, Tommy, he would have just been, 20, 21?
Yeah, so he just debuted,
Mate. He was a kid then. And
oh, there's nothing where.
Yeah. But
the best was when...
I'll never forget my missus. She came in and goes, hey, there's a naked guy sleeping out there next to the elevator.
Oh, it was gold. It was gold.
That Sofitel, geez, it's got some skeletons in the closet.
Oh, mate. I was talking to Tommy about it the other day. I know the bloke's name. So.
Okay.
Oh, right. So you're not
going to...
Might have to beat that out.
Beep it out.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly. We're just going to take a quick break to talk about friends of the show, AG1. Now, taking care of your health isn't always easy, but it should at least be simple. That's why for the last 2 years, I've been drinking AG1 every single day, no exceptions. It's just one scoop mixed in water once a day, every day, and it makes me feel energized, focused, and it really takes away that mid-afternoon slump that I used to suffer from. It was awful, but now thanks to AG1, it doesn't happen. It delivers my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre and probiotics, and more. It's powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. Healthy aging shouldn't feel complicated. The thought of taking multiple supplements, pills, protein powders, etc. sounds exhausting, but just one daily scoop of AG1 covers my nutrient gaps and supports my mental and physical health without any hassle. In just 60 seconds every morning, I know I'm giving my body what it needs and setting up sustainable habits in the long run. We are so grateful to have AG1 as a partner of the show, and if there's one product that I had to recommend to elevate your health, it's AG1. That's why we've partnered with them for so long. So if you want to take ownership of your health, start with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/buyround. That's drink, ag1.com/buyround. Check it out. Was there ever any like beef between the New South Wales and Queensland? Because I've heard in previous tours that there's been not a split, but like a noticeable difference. And is that something that you guys were aware of, maybe going into that, and wanted to make sure that didn't happen?
Well, Woodsy might be able to share some stuff on earlier tours, but certainly when I got there in that year, that 2017 year, there was nothing like. I came in, like I said, I was excited because, I knew it was a great opportunity for me. But yeah, from the moment we got in the camp, the trip to Fiji, all the, you hate to say it, but, all the Queensland guys, not just Cam and Billy and Cooper, but even like Matty Gillette, like Joshy Maguire. It was just like, we're a united team from almost the word dot. And it was a really different feeling to Origin. Like the Origin build up, I find.
You have to hate them.
Yeah, you do hate them. And it's so intense to build up because, sort of the NRL season's been put on a bit of a hold, and, you're the centre of the rugby league world for just that moment, and you know how much it means to New South Wales and Queensland fans and the rivalry, and it's just intense with the media and the build-up. It's a different sort of feeling. But then, the Aussie camp, it was really relaxed in comparison. Like we said, it was much more, you're free to have a good time. I don't know whether it was because you knew it was a long tour, so you were a bit more free to have a good time, and you knew you were building to something down the track. But, yeah, we were united from the very first meeting. And again, Mal, he really takes control of that. The Rise meeting we had,
I think the biggest thing that Mao did, so there was a bit early days.
Well, I was going to say,
I was there in 14.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe that trip to Fiji was Mal learning from what had happened in the past and not let that be a distraction going into such a long tournament?
Yeah, I think that's something he learned from the past. But I think when we were in, when did Mal take? I think he took over in 2016. We're up in Newcastle, and the first thing he got straight into the meeting. There's been all this talk that, Queensland sitting this table, New South Wales sitting this table. He goes, mate, we're all one. Like, that's just thrown out the window. Like, if any of you want to, if I get any inkling that is New South Wales or Queensland, you're out off the team straight away. And then Wado mentioned Rise is like, that's like our mantra.
Mantra.
So,
and Mal started that with a couple of the senior players. I think maybe
the whole group did. The whole group come up with it up in Newcastle, and it just. Whether, we had blokes like Corey Parker there at the time, Paul Gallen, and they obviously moved on, but the other guys had to drive it still. So, no, I don't think there was not at all. It was the best. Like, I tell everyone now, like, it kills me to say, even at Origin time, like, the Queensland blokes are legends. Like you mentioned, what's his name, Will Chambers. Like, I hated him playing against him. Like, he's one of the best sledges you'll play, but when you meet him, he's one of the most loyal blokes you'll ever meet. Like, give you the shirt off the back. Josh Maguire's the same. Mate, Dane Gagot. Matt Gillette, champions. They're all
he's
just
one of the best guys you ever meet in your life.
They're just great fellas.
He was such a good player for so long. Yeah.
If we didn't play those Aussie games, you'd probably still have that, the thought of thinking they're dickheads, if that makes sense. Like, because
it's just that competitor.
It's a competitor. Like, you don't want to give these guys an inch.
And
I just tell everyone, like, mate, honestly, they're proper champions. Like Cooper Cronk, JT, honestly, one of the greatest guys you'll meet.
I caught up with him last weekend, actually.
Look out.
But it's good. It was a good experience, and it was a different feeling. But yeah, there was certainly when I was a part of the squad, there was no New South Wales and Queensland.
I think that come from 2013. After one of the games, it was like a one-off game up in Townsville. They sung the Queensland song for this because they didn't have an Australian song.
Yeah.
And that was one of Mal's first things. He brought in an Aussie song. So the one they sing now.
Reading off the paper.
None of us knew. Yeah, we were all reading off the paper. It was like, and no one was in order. Only one that knew was Jakey because it's a similar song to the Manly one.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly seemed like you were bonded and united, and it showed in your performances. Just lastly, on the off the field stuff, you mentioned one of those unlikely combinations that Frizell and Mansour. I'm keen for personal reasons to hear some stories about Frizell and how he was on tour, but also Mansour, knowing he's one of the game's more colourful characters. Is there anything you can share with him? Obviously, as well, he came up against. I guess he's He's
mate.
does he attribute? Is he? I know he plays. Could he play for Lebanon? But
Can I say against
Lebanon?
He was about to cry that game. It was one of the funniest things I've seen. And Clem and I
They were into him, mate.
we ripped in. He goes, mate. He goes, my own fans are into me like Lebanon. I was like, well, mate, you said if you made Lebanon, you're going to pull out, and then you got the late call up to Australia, and you said you're fully fit now. So he was going to pull the old injury for when they got picked in the Lebanon squad. And then he got picked in the Aussie squad, and he was miraculously recovered. So the Lebanese fans, they were just into him. And
that was one of our funner.
That was the best week. Mate, what about the bloke that looked like him? There was a fair dead set ringer of him in the Lebanese side. He was a winger as well, had the big beard, and we'll call him, he was the better version of Sauce.
Yeah,
and he hated it.
Looking guy, yeah. And that was one of the funner cultural nights we had, man. We had the Lebanese food, and the drummers came in, and the dancing, you remember? And
Manly, yeah.
Yeah, that Manly. So we had a good week over there. That was a good night. But there was one incident with Sauce.
Oh, hilarious.
Me and Sauce out one night in Melbourne. We had a bit too much, and he was wearing the sunnies in the nightclub.
In the nightclub, yeah. And we were like, it was dark as anything.
Yeah. So I took them off him and I broke him. I snapped the knife. I just snapped his sunnies. And then he's like, mate, that was my wedding sunnies.
He's going to cry again.
He was shattered. And like I sort of blew it off because I had a couple of beers. Like, mate, well, if you didn't want him to be break, what were you wearing on a night out
why
for?
are you
wearing your wedding sunnies at 11 p.m. in a nightclub down in Melbourne, man.
For me, that moment, it was like he saw a ghost. And I was in tears. I said, what are you laughing at, mate?
And then mate, the whole tour, he hit me up, man. You owe me a pair of sunnies. You owe me a pair of sunnies. I was like, yeah, man, I'll fix them up when I can. So, Sauce, if you're listening, man, I still owe you that pair of sunnies, and I'll cash them in soon for you.
Man. It's so funny.
No, Frizz was good, but Frizz was just he floated along, man. You know what he's like.
I had a good day with Frizz actually.
St Kilda?
Pontoon at St Kilda, yeah. I think by the end of it, we all couldn't really talk.
Yeah, so. It was a big day.
He can't find him. He gets on mute very easily. 2 or 3 beers.
And smiling, and he loves his glasses.
Yes. Big smile. Glasses on, not much chat.
I'll tell you what, you'd want to get to the buffet before him and Boyd coordinated into the room. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any left for you. They're like they would eat for Australia, not just play rugby league. Like, they would eat for Australia.
Yeah. Boyd eats like he's like real gets into it. And he's got the big wide shoulders. So Boyd, he's not going to be a last meal champion.
Mate, you know what's funny? Just like the little things. It's those little things that you're like, well, you start noticing like people's like different habits.
Mate, he looks angry at it. It's like he's running the inside line. Like, Boyd, love him.
To on the field, Wado, you're making your Test debut against England. How was the emotion rolling into that one? Yeah,
no, it was awesome. Like, it's one of the one of the best experiences ever. You get the opportunity to represent yourself, your family, and your country when you pull the jersey on. And like I said, I'd already had that thought that it might have slipped me past. So to get the opportunity, it was a great week. They flew my parents down, my sisters down to Melbourne, and we had a presentation with the other debutants. And it was a bit of a, most of my rep career, I came off the bench in the utility role. So it's always tricky in your prep to try and get reps in different positions and just sort of have the game plan covered from different angles, and to not really know when your time will, come on the field. Like, with the big boys, they know they're probably going to be first or second change. And, if you're the third forward, you might be closer to halftime or just after halftime. So, when you're that utility, it's a harder prep to get right. But, it was tested in that first game. So, I generally expected that I wouldn't play in the first half. Then I'd be maybe the first change after halftime into the middle. And I was carried on the bench to cover pretty much, every position. But that game, it went a bit awry. So Cooper, I think he got HIA in like the first maybe 15 minutes. So he had to come off the field. So I entered the field on the right side in the halves. And then just as Cooper was coming back on, Dukes got an HIA, so he went off. So then I ended up on left centre, and then I was playing there for about 5 minutes, and they ended up swapping me and Michael Morgan. I was playing left half, and then Morgan was in the centres, and then middle. Jakey got hurt, yeah. So then I ended up into the middle to finish the game. So I ended up playing, close to 45, 50 minutes in a number of positions, and that was my debut. And it could have went horrific, but it ended up going all right. We won the game. It was another tough game. I think for me, probably if I had any preconceived idea that we were in Australia and it was going to be a coach, we're in the best team in the world, obviously Billy, Cam, Cooper, that, I thought we were going to just, do it easy for the tournament. That was really awakened that it wasn't going to be that way. We played you down in Melbourne and I think it was 18-6 or...
It was close. It was a tough game.
I looked at the thing. I think it was 18-4, and you got a late try.
Yeah,
that sort of put it away pretty.
But I just remember the physicality of the game. I remember Ryan Hall, the winger, McGilvray. He come at you. It was just tackling Albans. Yeah, Bateman. It was the first time we got exposed to Bateman. Then you had obviously yourself, the Burgess boys. It was a tough physical game, and I remember finishing that game going, okay, we got a serious, competition here on our hands. But yeah, it was a dream came true, and I just remember leaving that game so happy that, Mao picked me for that role, and I managed to do that role. I play half, play in the centres, play in the back row, play in the middle, and we got the win. So it was just, all you ever want to do as a player is just do your job for the team. And I couldn't ask for anything more that game, and it was awesome having my mum and dad there in the crowd, and then. Obviously it was my birthday week as we spoke about. So
still going.
Birthday still going. Still going.
What about you, Woodsy, going into the first game? What were your memories from that day?
Well, obviously it was, you're always nervous, especially, I've played against England before and I think we beat you the year before, like 30-10, but you walk off that field like it's one of the most physical games you can have. I think, wait a second, you got yourself, all the Burgess boys. And the other fellow, he had a headgear. He was a monster.
Chris Hill.
He's still playing now. He played just recently.
He's a big boy.
Mate, they just, two go off, two
affectionately known as Bollockhead.
It's awful, isn't it? Is that what it is? But then, you had, like I said, the wingers, McGilvray, I think he just come on the scene.
Yeah.
Ryan Hall was at his best. That was before
Hodge
he hurt
was
his
playing
knee.
good footy then.
Yeah, so he's had such a, that was probably the most nervous I'd been, obviously playing from a country.
The halfback, George... played at
George Williams.
Was it George Williams?
No, I don't think he played.
He wasn't. No, he
was another bloke that played for Salford. He's a commentator over there now.
Kevin Brown.
It was Kevin Brown.
Yeah.
So, and then was Luke Gale.
Luke Gale.
Yeah, so they were there. But I've watched these guys play on TV for a long periods of time, and to get to actually play them up front, they've heard so much about Bateman that was in the side. So you just wanted to start off the World Cup campaign good. You wanted to start with a real strong performance and. Wade, I said it before with Mao, we talk about that we're winners and the process is how we're going to win. We wanted to have a great performance and then sort of put the World Cup on notice, knowing that we're here and we want to show you that no one's going to beat us. And that was the biggest thing for us.
Well, if you remember that World Cup, that was the year there was the defections and Tonga looked.
Yeah.
That was their first time where you look at Tonga where you go, oh, wow. Oh, so Fafita...
Fafita was meant to pick me up. They're coming to the Australian camp day. No, he didn't come. He didn't come the first day because he was supposed to pick me up.
No, he come to Papua New Guinea, didn't he?
Yeah, he came to Papua New Guinea, but he didn't come the first day because he was literally supposed to pick me up. He rings me. He goes, I can't pick you up anymore, man. I got something on. I was like, okay, sweet. So I ended up getting a taxi because we stayed at the airport hotel.
Yeah, the Pullman there.
And literally as I get there, it comes out breaking news. Tamalolo's defected to Tonga for feeders. And I was like, man, you could have just told me on the phone.
That's it, yeah.
I had no issue.
So he's supposed to be taking you to the airport to go?
He's taking me to the airport, to the airport hotel. So we had a night there and then we went and it's like, he just completely brushed me. Just let me hang on. I had to catch the cab in there, which I was fine to do. I would have done in the first place. But then I get there and he just said he had something on. He didn't tell me what it was. I was like, mate, could have just told me. Who am I going to tell?
The big boy.
Obviously, yeah. It was bizarre and it's sort of
huge
for me. It upped the intensity of that World Cup. It was like, hang on, we it's not going to be a 3-team comp.
Yeah.
Tonga in the mix, Samoa we're looking pretty strong as well. And actually, you ended up playing Fiji in the semi-final,
that's right,
which we'll get to. So obviously, after that first game, probably the level. With all due respect to Lebanon and France, those next two games, you just expected to win, right?
Yeah, we sort of shuffled our team, so blokes that didn't get a go.
So Munster played the second game, and I think Mickey Morgan must have had a rest.
Yeah, well, I think Jimmy was supposed to play, then he had some issues off the field, and he went home, and then I think was it
Munster.
Yeah, someone come in late, really late. Because he went home after captain's run.
Yeah, I'm sure it was Munster. I'm pretty sure it was Munster because
yeah.
I was Bordeaux had a rest that game against France, and I played in the back row.
You scored a couple of tries.
I scored a couple of tries.
How many did you score?
I think it was 4, Jimmy. 4
He
tries.
wouldn't pass to his teammates that day.
Mate, I was actually every try I was like meter from my try line, so I was just in the right place at the right time.
You did put it in the WhatsApp group. Make sure you bring it up.
And might I say,
He said 5 tries.
I tried to give him a rap.
I was just
Because
correcting it.
All I remember every time we were at the pub after that, he goes, "Can you get me 4 schooners, please?" And his old man was there too.
You know the best thing when I put the photo with Chucky. So before that, if you can see it, that's fixed. Before it was it was sideways. So when I'm like Chucky the photographer, who got a photo at the end of the game, I put my hand up and just see the 3.5. It's sideways.
Remember, is that Cronulla? That photo was on the wall. Cronulla.
Just for the listeners that aren't watching this, Wade Graham's got a
He's got a Brian Fletcher finger.
Actually, I
deformed finger.
Yeah, I still got to do my exit medical from the game, so I'm going to see
got
if
12
I
months,
get that
mate.
fixed. I need to get onto it. The doc's been messaging me to do it, but it's got kicked down the curb because I went overseas for so long. But
but back to that, like we just rotated. So Mal's biggest thing is everyone gets a game. So like Clem and myself, we started the first game, then we come off the bench, and we're told we're only going to get 20 minutes, and Mal stuck to it. McLean and Reggie they played 60 minutes. I think Maguire started because we lost Jakey. So there's just a big rotating. And then I think from those 2 games, then he picks the main 17 for that for Samoa game, I think it was up in Darwin. But
like in our preparation, it was really, we did the start of the week, like I said, the cultural stuff. But then as we got towards the game, it was never about our opposition. It was always about us, what we were going to do, how we were going to perform, what were our expectations. Because we knew that if we went out there and played to our expectations, we could control the game. So we sort of took the opposition out of it especially when we were playing, the second tier nations. And it was just about you're marking yourself against yourself, not against the opposition. So, and again, that comes down to Mal and Mal's expectation.
I love what he said, like, we'd win, but it's how we're going to win. And there's no mention of France. Like, we did respected them, like, and that's, part of doing the whole culture thing all week. But at the end of the day, it's about us when it comes game time. And that's his biggest thing. It was a great, theory that he did, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was awesome. And it was right. Like, it doesn't even matter. You take away Australia, the World Cup, England, any team, right? Even NRL teams. A lot of the time you can get lost in preparation, worrying about what your opposition's going to do and trying to stop your opposition. And you do need to do your homework. You do need to be prepared. You need to know what's coming. But ultimately, you need to give yourself the opportunity to play your best. Because if you play your best, there's a chance that you're going to control the game. And you're better if you're playing at your best than worrying about stopping their opposition at their best. Because if you're playing at your best, they've got to stop you. So Mal, again, he drove that. You're playing for Australia. The E on RISE stands for excellence. The Australian teams had a littered history of excellence when they play. And, when you put that jersey on, that's the expectation. You deliver at that level.
So you're marching through the tournament, play the quarterfinals. You win that. You're expected to play the Kiwis in the semi-final.
Right.
That was a big, wow.
And they lose. They lose to Fiji. Yeah. Bizarrely, 4-2.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Kevin Nguama had a heck of a tournament, didn't he?
Yeah.
And there was a bit of, there was a lot of momentum behind Tonga, that series, obviously because of the big name defection. But then Fiji started playing well and the groundswell of support came for them.
Yep.
And we were familiar with them too because we played that tri series, in the trip before. But there was enormous support for them, and it is a part of the feel good stories of the Rugby League World Cup. You do get to be exposed to different cultures, and the Fijian hymn they sing before the game. You see all the haka and the mati mati, and I forget the name of the
Sipi Tau.
Yeah, the Sipi Tau. So it is a great part of the World Cup, and at first I remember, again, selfishly thinking back, I wanted to play the Kiwis. I wanted to stand in front of the haka. I wanted to experience that. But then, we had an opportunity to play Fiji and play them in the semis. It was a great story about that World Cup. It was a real like you said, it was a real breakthrough in international rugby league that year. and they've really come on leaps and bounds in international footy or the Pacific Islands.
You know, the one side that didn't get much credit that I thought was one of our hardest games was Lebanon.
Yeah, they were good.
That was one of the real feel-good stories. Yeah, they did well.
So what Lebanon did really well, they slowed the ruck down, and it was frustrating the hell out of them. I think it was only we're only up 10-6 at half time. And it did blow out, but the way they played, it
was a clunky game, wasn't it?
It was a real, and we couldn't get any rhythm. I think Brad Fittler coached them at that period of time.
He did, yeah.
Mitch Moses was
Farrell was there.
Yeah.
They had a really
the better sauce.
The better sauce. Adam Dewey played,
yeah,
I think, as well.
Young Adam Dewey.
Because they almost knocked off Tonga before they played against you guys.
Yes, they did. Yeah, it was a very close game.
It was an obstruction right at the end of the game that cost them. So it was, like you said, all the little nations played really well.
Well, that was remember the game at the SFS against Lebanon, the atmosphere from the Lebanese crowd, the drums going off, all their supporters. It was
like everyone was against us.
And we're in Sydney, right? It felt like the support was against us. And then because the game was close at half time, you could feel the energy even build and build and build. But it was a clunky game. You're right. They controlled the ruck really well, and the refs might have let a lot of stuff slide.
I remember we were pretty angry after that. Mate, it was frustrating.
We're getting away with murder in the ruck, but that's the way it goes sometimes at that international level. And then we got past them and got on the Fiji. But yeah, you're right. It was you mentioned at the start. It was a really feel good breakthrough for the international game that year. All the second tier nations really standing up.
Woodsy, was there any element of disappointment for you not to face the Kiwis? I imagine that's the game you're assuming you'd be going into, right? You're only natural to feel that way.
100%. Honestly, when we beat Samoa, I thought for sure we're going to go play against the Kiwis, and probably I've played against the Kiwis before, so it wasn't that much of a disappointment. Still, at the end of the day, I wanted to win the World Cup, so I didn't care who we were versing. But you could probably say, a lot of people say you want to verse the best. Well, then they're not the best because they got beat by Fiji. So you got to give Fiji respect. And like I said, I've sat in front of the haka before. It's one of the best things I've done. When you see teammates in your own side, your club side, and see them perform the haka, they always look at you. So it's always your own teammates and that's the one I tend to look at as well. And to see how proud they are of the tribal dance that they do. But at the end of the day, they just weren't good enough. So, you can say, I was disappointed to play against them, but they weren't the best side. Like Fiji were outstanding. And how good was it when they did the hymn?
Yeah, the hymn was good, yeah.
The hymn's I'm not Fijian, but I was getting goosebumps when,
the stadium sings with it, right?
Everyone does it. And I had a couple of close mates in that Fijian side, but at the end of the day, we had a job to do, didn't we, Wado?
Yeah.
Well, you got that job done. And you come up against England, the team that you've played in the very first game. Can you recall your thoughts going into that game?
Yeah, I was actually busted. So I popped my AC against Fiji. So I had to get a couple of needles. And it was just and I remember during a train to get needled just to train. I popped my AC out of the joint and I was like, I just want to get to this game. It's the hardest thing because I think we played a Friday and then the game was on a Saturday. The final was on the Saturday. So we trained at, I think it was Brisbane East all week.
Yeah, that's right.
It was probably the most switched on we were, the whole camp. It was a bit of fun, all the other stuff. But then, we'd already had the England night, the theme done. This time we were just worrying about ourselves. There's been a lot of talk. It's been a long process. I think it was the 7th week we were together. Some blokes were getting on the nerves of other blokes being around for such a long period. And then, obviously the disappointment for other players that didn't get selected in the 17, so they were going to be a bit frustrated. But Mal handled it well. That's something that he does. Wade spoke about in this program earlier, that the balance he's got and the way that he can tell people. Mal's not the greatest tactical coach I've ever had, but geez, he'd make you run through a brick wall. He's a guy that you don't want to let down. And he doesn't need to be tactical in the squad that we had with, like you said, Cooper, Cameron, and the likes of Billy Slater. So, I was quietly confident, but then, I think I got a little bit nervous when they did when Cameron got golden boot. Do you remember at the Sofitel, Cameron, I think our whole side went, Wado, and we suited up, and then Cameron got the golden boot, and then Wayne Bennett was with you guys, wasn't he? He was your coach. And then, just like a Wayne Bennett coach side, I think you were there as well at the presser because you were captain. No, Semi was captain, wasn't he? Yeah, Semi was captain.
We lost Sean O'Loughlin.
Yeah, you lost Sean O'Loughlin,
in the build-up, yeah.
And I just remember, like, you know, they've lost their, you know, Sean O'Loughlin, and he was one of the greats. But, mate, you can never underestimate a Wayne Bennett coach side. You've seen him do it so many times. And that was probably the first bit I started to think about the game. And I was starting to get a little bit nervous, you know, and it was only 2 days away. And, you know, your thought process is Cameron Smith's just got golden boot. You don't want him to get every award. If like I'm thinking about the Englishman, like they'd be filthy that not one of their players didn't get it. You know, we want to bring these blokes back down. So I just thought we gave you a bit more, you know, a bit more drive that week. And yeah, like I said, I was going good up until that period of time.
How about you, Wader?
I think my memory of it is I was just excited. Like I was pumped for the game. Certainly, you know, I'd played every game in the tournament, so I was you know, stoked to be there in the final, to be picked again. And then I just, you know, that during that patch of my career, I'd played in the biggest games. You know, I'd played in the 16 grand final, I'd played in the prelim in 17, you know, and then that was just, I just felt like that's where, you know, that's where we were, that's where I was at that stage in my career. And I remember I was ready to go. I knew, like I said, in that first game, if there was any perception or preconceived idea that it wouldn't be tough because we were in the Australian team, that got knocked out of me straight away in that first game of how hard it was. And I knew, you know, it's always, when you come up against an opposition back to back, it's always a harder game because you felt each other out in that first game, so you know what to expect and you're going to be better for the run and better for the tournament. Like this was almost 8 weeks after we'd first met each other, right? Yeah. So we'd come a long way and built combinations. So, you know, I knew what sort of game was coming, but the overriding thought in my mind was excitement. Like, this is the biggest game of the year. You represent your country in the World Cup final. Like, you know, get your head on us. You're ready to go here. You know, and the game certainly didn't disappoint. Didn't disappoint at all.
It was a slugfest, wasn't it? But it was a game full of quality. Like, you look at the end of that scoreline, 6-0. Some people go, ugh, one try. Like,
some of the efforts in that game, I still reckon one of the biggest turning points for me in that game, I think I spoke to you about off air before. Widdop hits Callum Watkins on the out. He just gets outside Dukes. He beats Dukes for pace.
Yeah.
And as he's making a half break, Dukes just leaps and then just flicks the back of his boot. And I reckon that's the moment.
It's funny you said that because that's the first moment I thought of when I was thinking of the game.
Yeah.
Because it was breakneck speed. It was brutal. There was half breaks. There was half opportunities and neither team really capitalised on.
We just couldn't put it away.
Because I think our try was quite early, right?
Yeah, Boydie
scored it was quite early, but then the rest of the game was just neck and neck and just both teams throwing down. But that's the one moment I remember because it was late in the game. It was an opportunity, and he actually beat Dukes. He beat him. He beat him like at the start.
Good feet.
But Dukes just had that little extra effort, dived, fully outstretched, managed to get his ankle, and you know we got around the back and got our defence together. But no, I only played I think maybe 20, 25 minutes of that game. I didn't get on until the second half, and it's hard sometimes to come off the bench because you're not used to the speed of the game. And I just remember being like from the first moment on there, I was tired, and then I was tired until the end of the game. Like it was just didn't stop. And this was, you know, normally I play 80 minutes for club footy, and in this 25-minute period, it was brutal in the middle.
I'm telling you, mate, one of the best performances, Sam Burgess that night.
Yeah, he was
unbelievable, mate. He bashed us.
It's a tough game, man.
Whether it was him carrying the ball or him, I remember I had a kickoff run, and like you always try to see where Sammy is because he's got mad leg speed. He can just come out and just give it to you. And I remember I just sort of like, I think it was Chris Hill. We just went like sort of there, and then out of nowhere, Sammy just comes and just like, it probably didn't look like a big hit, but geez, one of those ones where you get up and like, you play the ball and just, wow, what happened? Mate, he was just incredible. And mate, what about you off the first kickoff of the game, that one, Jimmy? How's your memory?
Yeah, well, look, I was in, I was suffering after that first run.
One of your good mates.
Yeah, I was suffering. But it was all right.
He would have got red card.
Well, it's a different game now, isn't it? I sort of pulled myself together and shook it off and cracked on. But yeah, the battle in the middle was just insane. I think as well, because, you know, playing late November almost, I think it was the last weekend of November.
Yeah.
You're practically in summer in Brisbane at Suncorp. Like,
100%.
It's hot, it's steamy out there.
And you know what? I reckon the longer the game on, the better you guys got too.
Yeah.
Because like you said, Boydie scored early. I think we had a couple half chances.
I think there was
Matt Gillette
he
gets
dropped
through.
it. Yeah, I think there was one where he dropped it. He got through. He went to pass, and it was a forward pass,
We
or
scored
it went
off
to
an
ground.
obstruction.
Yeah.
I think Morgo scored off an
Yeah,
obstruction.
that's right. Yeah.
And it was like these boys just every time something went their way, they just gained, like you just grew an inch, and it couldn't put you away. The only thing that stopped it was the clock. We were lucky that time ran out.
well, you go on to win. How are the celebrations?
Oh, it's outstanding.
Yeah, it's good.
I think we had all our families and friends in the sheds.
And we had the
didn't
girls there too.
Yeah.
The Women's World Cup was on.
Yeah,
that coincided
the
with
Gillaroos.
us. And the Gillaroos had one also. Did they win or they
Yeah, they won just
us
before us, yeah.
So then Mao at the Sofitel got all the teams together, all the partners together. It was a big, that downstairs Harlequin bar.
Yes.
Pretty much had that, underneath. Pretty much had that closed off for all of us, and we stayed down there. I had actually a bottle of Moe sent to my room from one of my mates in Sydney saying congratulations, like a big bottle of Moe. So then I took that down and I poured it into the cup for everyone. We passed the cup around and had a sip out of it. It was pretty cool.
That's quality.
Oh, it's one of the great celebrations.
Yeah.
Some guys left early, but because it was been a long period, and I think they wanted to go home, get the first flight. But man, I remember we went out to some pub or club afterwards, and all us Gillaroos, I saw all the Gillaroos and all us Kangaroos were all together. It was just a good moment to be a part of, wasn't it?
Yeah, the backstory of that too is I'd actually, during that tour, I'd found out that my partner was pregnant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like probably towards the back end, maybe the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
She told me that she was pregnant. So it was still in that early stage of our first son, William. So I couldn't tell anyone yet.
And you sat over the moon.
But so it was just, it was just a really, when I think back to that now, I have a smile on my face because I remember, that was another good thing in my life that happened at that stage throughout the tournament, and it was just a good time. It was a good time.
You should have called Fafita up and told him.
Cheers. No, it was just a good time. We went down to Defiant Duck. It was down in the water, and all the Gillaroos were there. all the Australian men's team was there. Mao was there. The staff was there. Partners were there.
Yeah,
it was a good time, and then it was sort of that. Like you said, it's late November, right? We'd been playing. We'd started preseason probably in November the last year. So it was just we got there. We achieved what we wanted to achieve. We represented Australia. We won the World Cup. It was the final, footnote to everyone's season, and it was finally everyone could just let their hair down and just relax. And there's no training tomorrow. Don't have to worry about preparing for another game for a long time now. And to sit back there and have the World Cup. And achieve it with the squad. It's some of the best memories I have, really.
I remember just sitting there, just taking it in. I was sitting, I made sure I went because Cameron was sort of one of the greats of the game. Cameron Smith, done everything in the game. And he had his family. Then obviously Barb, she went back upstairs with the kids. And I remember just going sitting next to him and just having a beer. It's like, mate, because I'm a mad footy tragic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, mate, how good is this? I'm having a beer with Cameron Smith. Not just having a beer. I just won a World Cup with Cameron Smith. I wanted to take it in. I did it with Billy as well. Just blokes that you knew that I wouldn't see much of after this. But I just wanted to take the moment in. It was just not in my wildest dreams that I ever think that I'd be able to hang out with these blokes, let alone play, and then, get on the beers. And, he cops a lot of flack, Cameron. He's one of the best blokes you'll meet. He's, what the funny thing is with Cameron, after games, mate, the bloke can drink non-stop, but he just stays at the hotel, doesn't he?
Yeah, he doesn't go out.
He's just one of those blokes that just loves being around the boys. He's a big kid. Just plays PlayStation. He plays
PlayStation all the time. Actually, that's a memory that spins me out all the time.
He's completely different to what you think.
What's his go-to on the PlayStation?
He was playing.
What was it? It was
I think it was Call of Duty back then.
He loves it, mate.
Yeah, it was Call of Duty,
but he wears he's got sponsorship with everyone. He wears
you can't talk about anyone in clothes.
He wears board shorts and a Nike shirt everywhere. Hey, he could think he could wear whatever he wants. You look at the other blokes that he plays with, Cooper and Billy, they're dressed to the T all the time, looking grouse.
A side story about him as a character, and there's no secret it's a secret to why he achieved what he did in the game. So the Lebanon game, he only played 40 minutes. Right? He normally plays 80 minutes every week. He only plays 40 minutes that game. The next morning, I'm up early. I go down for coffee. There's no one really up. And I'm just sitting at the front. We're at the hotel there at Manly. What is it? Right across from the beach. Novotel, right across from the beach, right? So I'm just sitting at the front on my own, having a coffee, just watching the beach, just a bit of quiet time in the morning after a game. Up comes running Cameron Smith. He's doing extras the morning after because he's doing game day top-ups because he didn't play 80 minutes. So he's just going for, a 5-6K run down on the beach just to get some game day top-ups, man. On his own. No one, obviously, he's Cameron Smith. He's the captain of Australia. Like, there's no one telling him what to do.
Speaks volumes, doesn't it?
He was running his own race, really. He could have run his own race, but, off his own bat, he got up. He went, I've got to knock out a few extra Ks because I didn't get the 80 out. So it's just...
Only one bad thing about him. After training, he just takes his
ages,
time.
yeah.
And then the bus doesn't leave till Cameron goes. So, like, blokes will go in, shower, and they'll be sitting on the bus and... I'm too scared to say hurry up, Smitty. Like, I'm not saying that. Like, he's the captain of the country.
Is he just doing his extras, or he's just
chilling?
He's just chilling, mate. Like, he just loves banter in the sheds.
Yeah.
Like, if he could live in the dressing sheds, I reckon he would.
Right. So that game against France, I scored 4 tries. Right? I got man of the match. My dad's there, my mum is there. They're all going. There's a family bus back to the hotel, right? So we're there in the sheds, and I'm getting all these phone calls. Like, they're waiting for me to have a beer and catch up, and they're so proud, right? Their son just played for Australia, scored 4 tries. Like, they want to come and celebrate with him. I'm sitting there waiting. Come on, Smithy, let's go. We've got to go. He's just sitting there, jersey off, undies, having a beer, just waiting, just relaxing. I'm trying to tell him, listen, I'd love to come there, but Cam Smith, we can't leave until he wants to leave. So you're just going to have to sit tight. Right?
Even like Mao. Like, you go to Mao, we're going to go. It's captain's call, mate.
But it's good. I love that.
So good, mate.
I loved it. Apart from that one moment when it was really like, I wanted to go and see my family, but I loved it. It's it was a level that he was at as a player and as a leader, mate. And I was happy to sit there.
That's why 5 in the morning. Close.
I was happy to sit there till 5 in the morning if he wanted to stay there.
Because all that hard work throughout the week, you never I know when we play, play at Manly, you train all week. You have a great performance. You don't sort of get to enjoy it afterwards. Like, a lot of blokes go different ways. When you're in these camps, mate, we'll be there at 2 or 3 in the morning and just talk, oh, mate, what about when you got beat on inside? Oh, what about with the big hit that Jimmy Graham pulled up? Like, you can just talk shit
about the game.
Yeah.
But I remember the rule too was like, after the game, you weren't allowed to go out.
Not allowed to go.
Like, you had recovery the next day. You could have a beer in the sheds. You could have a beer at the hotel, but you don't go out.
You can drink as much as you want, but just stay in.
And then you could recovery in the next morning. But then you had 2 days off after that. So it was like, you do what you want, engage on, you can fly to Sydney and see your family if you wanted to, really. But yeah, the night of the game was, after the game, it was everyone sticks together, stays together.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't in the sheds, it was at the hotel, in the lobby, or in the team room, right?
Mad story. I got one more. Like, it was in Canberra. So that was the game. And remember, it was a real mad hotel we stayed at, remember? Like, it was like one of those.
It had the restaurant attached to it, didn't it?
Yeah, so like, it was like you walk outside, but then you go in like this it's like a little hut sort of inside the building.
That's right, with the team room.
And then, so like, well, obviously it was probably 2 or 3 in the morning, like drinking and like Yahoo and carrying on like pork chops. And then Billy Slater's just into chambers. And like, I was just like, I probably wouldn't get into chambers. Like, bloke's got no filter. And then out of nowhere, throws a piece of pizza at him. And I was like, So I've gone to Chambers. You're not going to cop that, are you, man? And then Clem's on the other side going to Billy, do it again. And then so he throws another piece of pizza at him. And then I'm going to Chambers, mate. He's just bitched you. Like, you're not going to cop that. So Chambers gets up and like his head's fallen off. Like, and then so our food was outside and you'd have to come back in. Like when you're at a buffet, you get the big silver trays. Mm-hmm. He comes in with the whole tray of lasagna. And like, he's going like, what are you going to do, Billy? And Billy's like, you're not going to throw it, blah, blah. And I'm going, mate, are you going to shit yourself or are you going to throw it? Like, we were into him and Clem's into Billy. Next thing you know, Chamber just goes, whoosh, I don't care who you are.
With a full plate of lasagna.
Yeah, mate, yeah.
Was it hot?
Yeah, they're like, we're trying to...
it would have been cold lasagna.
Yeah, I was going to say,
it was late.
Yeah.
It was late at night.
And then Smitty's in the middle going, no, come on, boys, come on.
That's brilliant. To wrap it up, lads, we'll do a little award ceremony. So for your best off the field, your best on the field, and your favourite teammate, the person that you were hanging around with the most. So Wade, I'll come to you first. Who was your man of the match for off the field?
Off the field, I'd have to say Munster. Like
Munster wins that.
He was he would have been, what, 22, 23.
Yeah, I'd probably go that too.
You're going to go...
He got sent home, so he had a good time.
Player of the tournament off the field.
Fight,
Cameron Munster.
But like, you'd hear his voice. How'd you go last night? Yeah, mate, it was good.
I actually roomed next to him for 2 weeks in Brisbane. It was good fun.
How about on the field? Who was your best kangaroo?
Billy was for me. I enjoyed playing with him. Like, Cameron certainly controlled the game and the speed of the game, the tempo where he kicked it. And Cooper executed the game plan, but Billy, mate, I've never heard anyone talk so much on a field as much as Billy Slater. Even at training, like, he's out at Suncorp catching bombs, yelling his own name out. There's no one there. Like, he's just ultimate. Like, he'd be setting up plays when I was in the back row, lay in the middles, talking to the middles. Wait, I'll be out there in a second. I'll be on your back. And then he's set in the middles, and all of a sudden he's on my back. He's organising the centres. Like, he was brilliant, man. I'm, again, just grateful for that opportunity to play with, someone like that.
How about you, Woodsy?
Yeah, I'd say Billy would be up there, like, just for never gets numbers wrong. He was in our group. We'd do conditioning games. The bloke wouldn't sweat.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But I can't get past Cameron Smith. Being a front rower, he'd always just tell us to hold our lanes, don't overcrowd. I'll get you in. I'll put you in the right. You run forward, you get an easy tackle. He just gives you the ball at the right time. And defensively, mate, the bloke never missed a tackle. And I just loved him, like his speeches before the game. Cool, He got you up. And like I said, mate, I was in awe of it. It was unbelievable.
All right, Weirdo, your favourite teammate from that?
My guy's Boydo. Like, it's funny because we played the same position, right? And, he was the vice captain. He was always in my way. I couldn't get into teams because Boydo was there, but we're such good mates off the field. And, we're very similar. We're laid back, Some guys like to go out and do things, go to restaurants and that. Me and Boydo would go to the pub and have a steak, a couple of beers, go back home. Our old mans are close. So, yeah, Boydo's, for me, any Origin camp or Australian camp, the days off, we wouldn't be too far away from each other.
Woodsy?
I've got, obviously Clem. Everyone knows I'm tight. But other than Clem, mate, I had a really good time with, Dane Gagai.
Yeah, Gag's a good dude.
He's one of the blokes who's just up for anything, whether it's go for hit a golf, go to a coffee shop, get on the beers, train hard. He was just always someone you could bring anywhere. And he's old man too. Chuck him Big Ray.
Oh. So he was one of our best players that tournament.
Dane Gagai was on fire.
He was honestly one of the best.
And he came in late because we lost GI.
That's right, yeah. So GI pulled out and Gags came in to replace him and he killed it.
Yeah.
He killed it.
All right.
And Chambo. But he just drove him mad in the end.
All right, lads. Well, thank you both for sharing those very special memories. Obviously, you capped off the tournament, winning the World Cup. It sounds like an incredible 7 or 8 weeks that you've spent together, and obviously memories that you've created to life. And I think on behalf of everyone here at the Buy Around and all our listeners, thank you both so much for sharing some of those stories. And once again, congratulations on winning the Rugby League World Cup in 2017.
Thanks, mate. I wish we could go back.
Have you got a time machine? I need one.
I wish.